What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Monday Mail Day. I got some good questions picked out. A lot of them about Tyson Fury, this man right here. Without further ado, let's get it in. First question, and that comes from Mateo Gallardo. What's up, Ego? If Chocolatito versus Inoue happens in the future, who would you pick to win that fight? That's a really good question. I want to say Inoue. Inoue's big. I got to see a little bit more from Chocolatito at the heavier weight because the Carlos Cuadras fight, I wasn't super impressed. I mean, I was impressed with his durability. He was tough. The first half, he looked good. But I think he started to fatigue badly. And I don't know how he's going to do with this new weight class. So I don't really like doing too many predictions without getting a full scope of things. I like to observe a lot, but at this moment, based on what I've seen from the Carlos Cuadras fight and Chocolatito at the new weight, he just doesn't look like his punches are affecting people as much as maybe the lighter divisions fighting like the Brian Valoria and stuff like that. So at this moment, I could see Inoue winning the fight, but if Chocolatito acclimates a little bit better and has stronger performances, that could change. But at the moment, off of one fight in the new weight division, I would have to rock with Inoue, the Japanese fighter. He's looked probably more dominant. And like I said, look at the side-by-side picture of him. Like, Inoue's big. And again, I'm curious to see how his punching power translates to the new division, because we've seen guys, I've seen the tons and tons, like Broner. He's a perfect example. He was doing damage at 135. As he moved up, faced bigger guys, his power wasn't as apparent. Yeah, he knocked Sean Porter down and stuff, but he hasn't really been getting stoppages above 145, 144 versus 135. He was destroying the Antonio DeMarcos, the Gavin Reeses, and stuff like that. So Chocolatito's very skilled. We'll see what he does next, but at the moment, I may take Inoue. Next question is from Samir Makutar. Can Klitschko still become a world champion after the Fury situation? Of course. I mean, Klitschko, when he lost to Fury, he lost a bunch of belts. So they'll probably all become vacant after Tyson Fury tested positive, having cocaine in his system. So that's a ton of titles that he can become a champion again. So I definitely think he can. He has the experience to do that. And I mean, it's boxing. A lot of people think Anthony Joshua would knock Klitschko out, but you never know because of the experience. In Anthony Joshua, he's still relatively green. Like, if you notice his competition, I have no problem with how they're moving him along, but if you keep it real, there's no one like a Klitschko level. He doesn't. Dominique Brazil, who was struggling with Amir Mansour, Charles Martin, who won a vacant belt over Glaskov, who nothing really happened in the fight. You know what I mean? I would say Charles Martin was winning, but Glaskov fell and twisted his knee or whatever, and the fight kind of ended in a non-traditional way, right? Gary Cornish. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with how he's coming up because I think that's how you're supposed to build. You don't want to put your fighter in like Amir Imam. He was mandatory for Victor Postal's WBC belt, and then they threw him in with the Granados not doing their homework, and now his mandatory position is gone. He got stopped, and I haven't seen him come back. Antoine Douglas, another prospect. You don't just throw your prospect in there with somebody like too tough. So even though people are picking Joshua to overwhelm Klitschko, he would have to fight smart because Klitschko brings that experience. So I definitely think Klitschko can become a world champion again, with Fury most likely being stripped sometime in the near future. I don't want to see Klitschko versus Joshua. I want to see Klitschko versus Wilder. It's not really a comment or a question. That's a comment. So, I mean, I'm okay with either Joshua or Wilder, but Wilder is not likely this year because he's coming back off an injury. Next question is Zoki 1983. Hey, Ego, do you feel like Kovalev and Ward are not doing enough to sell their fight to casual fans? Nah, I don't think so. I mean, I haven't looked at it like that. Man, this is by far the biggest 50-50 fight in the game now, but it doesn't have the buzz from media. It doesn't have to be Mayweather-Pacquiao buzz, but give me Mayweather-Canelo, Pacquiao-Cotto at least. I mean, those are all different fights. I don't really agree with with that, just because Canelo was this superstar in the making, and they were pitching him as the next biggest thing. He had beat Shane Mosley, knocked out Baldomir in brutal fashion, and a lot of people were raving about him. And he was a champion. He was bigger than Floyd, stuff like that. So Mayweather and Canelo, that's why it set records, because of who it is. This is a dangerous fight, Ward or Kovalev, but neither guy, that's not their lane necessarily. Ward's not a huge trash talker. He's not going to start rapping out as he walks out like Broner or start dancing. I mean, that's not really his MO. And then Kovalev, English is not even his first language. He's Russian. He has kind of a mean streak, but sometimes he has a hard time understanding questions. So I don't know. To each his own. Each fight is going to be its own fight. I think if you put Kovalev and Adonis Stevenson, that would have probably more of a build-up if that's what you're looking for. But I think people are going to check for this fight because they know what it is. Brand new arena. At the end of the day, it's about money for both these guys, and I got a feeling fight is not going to do numbers it should. In the words of Mike Tyson, fuck it, it's a fight. They need some drama in this. Kovalev has a history of racism. Play that card. Who gives a fuck? Something. They really need a Broner up in this mix. What I'm getting at is the following. It's real easy to sell this fight to me. They have my money for sure, but those million plus people, they need to read about some controversy. Agree? No, again, I don't agree. I think good fights typically will sell themselves. You know what I mean? People want to see Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton. People want to see Vasyl Lomachenko versus Nicholas Walters. That's another upcoming fight. I mean, most likely in that fight, they're not going to do a bunch of trash talking and a bunch of stuff, but that's a good-ass fight. So, I mean, I say fuck the casuals if that's what it's going to be. You know what I mean? Or if you're a real boxing fan, start telling casual friends. But I think good fights are good fights, and not every fight is going to have a character like a Broner or an Angel Garcia. So I'm okay with that. And I think HBO, you got to look at it. HBO bailed out on the Manny Pacquiao televising his fight with Jesse Vargas in order to support the Ward and Kovalev fight. Two guys that have never fought on pay-per-view. So that's a huge statement from HBO and where their mindset's at. They're like, even though Pacquiao's given us 10 years of his career and he's been on pay-per-view, we like this fight better. You know what I mean? So that being said, that stipulates, to me at least, they'll probably do a face-off. They'll probably do at the very least, Road to Ward Kovalev. You know what I mean? Or a 24/7, a couple episodes, one episode. They'll probably do something, right? So I'm not really worried about it. I think good fights. Now, fights like Crawford Postal, that's a little bit different because that fight was a good fight, but I don't think either guy had quite the name of Ward and Kovalev. You know what I mean? Several main events and things like that. And that didn't do great numbers, but I definitely don't think Ward Kovalev. I think Bob Arum even himself said he didn't even want to put Crawford Postal on pay-per-view, but there's no one at main events. I talked to Kathy Duva and I talked to the guy at Rock Nation, and they're okay with this being on pay-per-view. So each fight is its own. I'm not really worried about the numbers. I mean, if people don't tune in, then that's unfortunate because I think this is the most meaningful fight. And you also have people like me. I dropped the first look on this fight, Ward Kovalev, and I'm going to try to give it as much attention as I possibly can. New media, Boxingego, and hopefully other people make videos and support and build up the fight on their channels and in their articles and stuff like that. Next question is from Frederick Cotton. What's up, Ego? Since they finna strip Tyson Fury, what's gonna happen with his titles? They'll just become vacant, and whoever's within those different sanctioning bodies, whoever's in line, like let's say it's the WBO, whoever's the top two people will probably have to scrap for it. And then they'll just go down the list. All the titles, all the sanctioning bodies, and then the two highest ranking people have an eliminator and scrap for the titles. If one's not available, then it goes down the list to the next available person who's the highest ranking on their list. So we should see something soon. And Klitschko will probably be one of them, to be honest. Next question is from Tim E. Hey, Ego, what happened to Bryant Jennings after the Luis Ortiz fight? Did King Kong retire him? He's been MIA. No, I think he's just chilling. He's I caught him at a fight. We interviewed and talked, and I asked him about the King Kong Ortiz fight. He's looking to get back. he's in shape. He stays in shape. He's vegan. He lives the lifestyle. I've seen him. I follow him on Instagram and stuff. He's just out and about doing his thing. But you gotta, when you're a fighter like Bryant Jennings, you have to keep in mind he didn't really have an amateur background at all, and most of his learning is learning on the job. I think maybe he had 8 amateur fights. I think it's something around there. It's not significant, and he's been in with some names. You know what I mean? Bryant Jennings has fought Artur Szpilka before Deontay Wilder. He fought Mike Perez before Alexander Povetkin knocked him out. And he also fought Klitschko, who we were talking about earlier in this video. And he fought Luis King Kong Ortiz. So I think with that type of schedule, and then taking 2 losses, the Klitschko loss and then also the Ortiz loss in a short period of time, I think he deserves a break, and I think he deserves the opportunity to, just get back mentally focused and build himself back up, because so often we see these fighters and it's like their careers are rushed and they start taking losses, and people don't treat, in boxing, it's unfortunate, people don't treat these stars and these boxers like the UFC fighters. The UFC, you can have like 9 losses and people still love you and cheer for you and even pick you to beat other people, you know what I mean, like a Dan Henderson or somebody who's just like a game veteran, and they'll pick him over somebody who has momentum. You know what I'm saying? UFC is a little bit different ways to win, in the fact that you can grapple, submission, knockout, different things like that. But people don't do that in boxing. They look at you. I've heard people say, like Broner has what, 2 losses, Maidana and Porter, and people say, I really read comments that said, oh, Broner, he's done, he needs to retire. Like, what? Why would he retire? He's like under 30. He lost to 2 good names. It's not like he lost to scrubs, you know what I mean? He lost to Sean Porter and Marcos Maidana, guys who were probably bigger than him and stuff like that. But that's kind of what it is in boxing. So I feel Bryant Jennings for taking a little bit of time off, and I think he needs to just climb back up the ladder. And I think that's why he's MMA, because there's a ton of guys, man. Off the top of my head, I could think of a ton of Mike Alvarado type guys that were, it's not that long ago that people were saying Brandon Rios was the dude, you know what I mean? And then he started eating himself out of weight classes, and then now people say he needs to retire. Oh, Rios is done. He's washed. Same thing with Mike Alvarado. You know what I mean? When Brandon Rios was fighting guys like John Murray, people were saying he's that dude. He's going to be hard to beat, and he's this beast and warrior. Now people are saying, oh, he lost to Bradley. It's over for him. So Bryant Jennings is playing it right. I mean, take some time off after a tough schedule, and then get yourself back in the mix. Next question is from D.O. Lee. Which boxers in the game do you feel are underappreciated and should get more love than they do? Well, one is Floyd Mayweather, just because he's given us so much of his life, and people always, even when I talk, like, I use him as examples of why are you using Floyd? Like, they really feel some type of way about Floyd. I think it's funny too. And Floyd's he's like the spotlight of boxing. He's the biggest star, even in the UFC. They talk about him all the time at press conferences and stuff. He's retired, and you still see UFC fighters mentioning him. So, of course, I'm going to use examples from the fighter that everybody knows. So he's definitely one of them. I think some people don't appreciate certain things that he does. I think Floyd Mayweather has underrated attributes like his chin. I've seen him take some shots. DeMarcus Corley, Zab Judah clocked him. Fights with... what's his name? Shane Mosley rocked him. He ate a Maidana shot flush. Like, all these fights, you know what I mean? That might be that shot that Maidana landed in the second fight may have dropped Broner. You know what I mean? I don't know what was harder, because that punch Maidana landed on Mayweather looked hard as fuck, and Broner got rocked with a hook, like a leaping hook that he thought was a body shot. So, you know what I mean? Floyd got an underrated chin. Other fighters that are underappreciated, Guillermo Rigondeaux, definitely he's underappreciated. His footwork, what he does to you, nullifying you, neutralizing your best weapons. The dude is a problem, can't get a fight. People keep saying Golovkin this and Golovkin that. Golovkin's a good fighter, but I keep it real, new media. Rigondeaux has people leaving the division to not fight him. I've seen some people not want to fight Golovkin. Don't get it twisted. But I've never really seen someone evade the division to not fight him. Like Danny Jacobs didn't look like he wanted to fight him. Now it looks like he does want to fight him, but there was a point in time where it didn't look like it. Billy Joe Saunders, Andy Lee, whoever, right? Cotto. But I never really seen people leave the division to not fight him. You could say Canelo, but Canelo was never technically in the division. I mean, technically he was at 155, but he wasn't at the full 160 ever. So his situation is a little bit different. There were people at 122, Nonito Donaire, Abner Mares, guys like Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton. They were at the division, and then they moved up to 126. And Rigondeaux's name was linked to all their names, and they all left, right? Then Donaire, he says he can't make 22 no more, went up and fought Nicholas Walters at featherweight and got knocked out, seeing the guys are too strong or hitting harder. He doesn't have the same size and power advantage. And what did he do? He went back down to 122, the weight he said he couldn't make. You know what I mean? So Rigondeaux's definitely underappreciated. One of the best and greatest amateurs. As a pro, he's a problem. People don't want to fight him. The other thing that's really weird is Rigondeaux smokes cigarettes. And I heard he smokes pretty frequently. Like, I don't think it's just like one when he gets stressed out every 6 months. I think he smokes regularly. That's pretty impressive to me, just based on the fact that I just assume that if you smoke, that wouldn't be good for you boxing. I'm not talking about weed. I'm talking about cigarettes. Seems like your cardio would be shit, and it would kind of hurt you in that department. But I mean, I've never even noticed. You wouldn't be able to tell by the way he moves and in fights that he's a smoker. So Rigondeaux would be another person that I put on that list. Next question is from Jeffrey Guy. What up, E? Is it possible for you to do 7 reasons Andre Ward beats Sergey Kovalev? Yeah, I did the first look already, so I'm already caught up with that. And I'm probably going to do that because I am picking Ward. I told you guys I was picking Ward. So I just have to break it down into the science, the 7 reasons. I mean, I have the reasons kind of like a rough draft in my head on things I think will beat Kovalev. But I got to map it out and see the best of the best reasons that I want to use and do the graphics and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll definitely most likely get that up before November 19th. Next question is from Araz A. What is your thoughts about Joseph Parker, #1 mandatory for IBF heavyweight title? You know what? I've heard a lot about Parker, but I honestly haven't seen enough of him. I checked him out a long time ago. Well, not that long ago, but maybe 6 to 8 months ago, because I started hearing a lot about him. Like, people were talking about he was saying some things he learned from David Tua or something, and I just kept hearing his name, so I did some research. I'd seen his fight with Dimitrenko, but Dimitrenko, or whatever his name is, he didn't look like he was that good. He didn't look like he was that formidable. So I honestly don't know enough about Joseph Parker to tell you to really break it down. Like, when I look at Canelo, when I look at Golovkin, I look at Rigondeaux, fighters like that, Danny Jacobs, anybody like that, I could tell you a lot more because I've seen several of their fights. I've seen their old fights. I've seen them for years, things like that. But Joseph Parker, I honestly haven't familiarized myself enough with his catalog, and he hasn't really fought the same, you know what I mean? He hasn't fought like a Klitschko or a mega fight, a Bryant Jennings, anything. He fought the, what's the name? Takum, but that's about it. So I don't honestly know enough to. I know it's a good test for Anthony Joshua for that IBF belt. You know what I mean? 2 guys who are in the same echelon. Anthony Joshua, he's a gold medalist, but as a pro, he has less than 20 fights and things like that. So I think it's a good fight. I see enough from what I have seen of Joseph Parker. I've seen enough of his skill or what he kind of brings to the table to assess that would be a good challenge. It's not like a walkover person where you can just blow through him easily you know what I mean, unless you're that good. So that's really my statement on Joseph Parker. But I'm definitely gonna keep my eye out on him, and hopefully the Joshua fight happens next, if it is not Klitschko versus Anthony Joshua. Next question is from Henry Mays. Questions: why wasn't Fury stripped when his post-fight drug test came up positive? I honestly don't know. I really have no answer for that. UCAD or whatever I thought, to me, honestly, when I first started hearing about he tested positive, somebody had told me that it was a tabloid that said it. So I was thinking it was like the National Enquirer, like one of them gossipy magazines or something like that. The one like Mel Gibson has black baby, and Mel Gibson fucked an alien, has an alien baby on the way, and Elvis Presley was spotted at the mall. Like, I thought it was one of them type of magazines where it's just like some things you can trust and some things are just like retarded, you know what I mean? Cher is a witch, and you know what I mean, just crazy stuff like that. So I thought it was something like that, but I guess it wasn't. And I don't know why he wasn't stripped. I have no idea, so I can't even begin to tell you why he wasn't stripped from that. Maybe they didn't have conclusive tests, or maybe because it was a UK company instead of like VADA, USADA. I don't know. Next question is from Abel Mehari. Hey Ego, you and Dante have one of the best boxing channels, and the information is deep where the mainstream either misses or refuses to report. Thank you for that. So my question for you is, with Tyson Fury possibly stripped, which he will be, of the heavyweight titles, could this possibly open up some unification bouts in almost a tournament format to crown a possible undisputed heavyweight champion for all the elite heavyweights, almost in a way like the Super 6 tournament or the middleweight championship tournament in 2001? Could you see that to be possible? Hashtag New Media. Shout out to New Media and all the fans of New Media, bringing it back to revealing facts, putting the spotlight on some of the ugly things that people don't want to talk about, things like that. But a tournament is always possible, but I don't think it'll happen, because if you look at it, if it was so easy to make with all these promoters, different networks and stuff like that, then why are we only talking about, like in your question, you're talking about the Super 6 that happened way back when, and then the middleweight championship that happened in 2001, and it's 2016, and we only have 3 or 4 months until 2017. You know what I mean? So obviously, to me, it's politics that are prohibiting these tournaments from happening. So I think in a perfect world it is possible, but in the landscape of boxing and cold wars and promoters being greedy and not wanting to work with this person, I just don't see it happening, because again, there's several stacked divisions, 147, 154, and then heavyweight, and I heard ideas of making this round robin style tournament at welterweight, and then what happened? You know what I mean? It's kind of like ordering a pizza. If me and 16 of you guys in the comment section all want to order a pizza and we can only get 2 pizzas, there's usually going to be some problems. One person's vegan, they want a vegetarian pizza. Someone likes the meat lovers, pause. Somebody only likes pepperoni. This other person's like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, they only want a cheese pizza. So you only can get 2 pizzas, and everybody wants different toppings, or I don't eat onions and it's too spicy, things of that sort. And that's kind of how it is with all the sanctioning bodies. They're trying to have, like, it's just hard to do when you have 2 different entities, 3 different entities, WBC, the IBF, WBO, etc., WBA, trying to get them all on the same page. Again, I liken it to ordering a pizza. You know what I mean? Will the WBC want the same pizza as the WBA or the IBF and things like that? So it's difficult. And then on top of that, let's say you somehow figured out the sanctioning bodies and got them all on the same page to promote this because you can't really have a tournament with, if you're trying to take the best of the best. That's what the whole purpose of a tournament. If you watch Bloodsport, the Kumite was the best people, the best fighters from around the world. Japan, Brazil, Korea, America. You know what I mean? That was the whole goal of it. So it would be stupid to have a tournament and you're not fighting the best people in that division. So again, that would require the sanctioning bodies to be on the same page as well. And then on top of that, it would require the networks, HBO, Showtime, who's going to host this tournament when you got fighters. Like, let's say it's at 147. So let's say Errol Spence Jr. has been fighting on PBC. Danny Garcia is on PBC. But what about Pacquiao? He's not going to be in the tournament because he's not fighting on PBC. You see what I'm saying? So it would be kind of hard. You know what I mean? Or what if Jesse Vargas beats him? Can he be in the tournament? Same thing at heavyweight. Anthony Joshua's been on Showtime. Klitschko's been on HBO. You know what I mean? Exclusive contracts and all stuff like that. So in a perfect world, it seems like it would be easy, but if it was so easy, I think it would have happened. So I don't see it happening, honestly. Next question is from W Blake 22. Have you heard anything on Antoine Douglas? No, I actually haven't. I've heard things about him sparring, and I can't really tell too much of it, but there's a marquee name that's actually fighting coming up, and I heard he did very well against him in sparring, and that person had to come back correct, like, because maybe it was an off day or something, but I heard he's pretty good, Antoine Douglas. But you know what I mean, after the Khurtsidze knockout. Let me just finish your question. I'm a fan of the kid and want to see him in the ring soon. I hope he doesn't let that loss to Khurtsidze end his career. And it's a gray area, you know what I mean? Antoine Douglas, you put, that's what I was saying earlier in this video. It's funny. You don't want to rush your prospects. There's certain guys out there. Obviously, Khurtsidze is one of them. You don't want to put him in there if that guy's like, I think 34 or 35 years old. Antoine Douglas is still a kid, and I know there's no kids in boxing. I hate when people say that, like, oh, Canelo, he's only 25, because they've been doing that with Canelo for the last 5 years. Oh, he's only 21. Okay, he's only 21. Even though Mike Tyson was 20 when he knocked out a grown man, Trevor Burbick, who beat Muhammad Ali, right? And Mike Tyson only 20 and stopped him. So since he proved that at heavyweight, I hate the age thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, he's only 20. Floyd was super young, 21 or something, when he beat Gennaro Hernandez, right? So I don't want to hear like, oh, the person was so young. If you're a fighter, you're a fighter, you're a scrap. Because I've seen Devin Haney, right? And I think he might have been 16. And he's fighting people older than him and sparring. And I've heard other stories about him sparring. He's fighting grown-ass pro fighters and stuff at age 16, and he was besting some of them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't care about the age stuff. But Antoine Douglas was young, and Khurtsidze was older. Khurtsidze had probably been around the block more experience and knew what to do. So it's tricky. You don't want to put your prospect in if they're not ready. You know what I mean? They did it right with like Mike Tyson. He was a brute force knockout person. They seen the level of skill with him and his defense when Prime Tyson was a handful. So he fought like, let's say 15 to 19 people and knocked majority of them out early when he first started his career. That's plenty of experience. But people like Antoine Douglas and M.I.A, they kind of got rushed and put in tough fights, and now you haven't heard from him. So I haven't heard anything from him. Maybe he's just getting his stuff together, trying to come back correct. But it's unfortunate because this sport is brutal. You know what I mean? And I've seen guys who were supposed to be it, and any given night, you even look at, if you guys remember Curtis Stevens in the Chin Checkers, the Condrington, what's the dude, Jadon or whatever his name is, and then Alan Green knocked him out. Like, he was supposed to be the one. You know what I mean? He was knocking people out. He had a cool click, the Chin Checkers. You know what I mean? He was supposed to be the dude, and then he got knocked out. So boxing's crucial. Next question is from Buckin5. Do you think 2016 is the year of the cherry pick? We had Canelo versus Khan, Canelo Smith, Triple G Wade, Triple G Brook was considered a cherry pick before the fight, Garcia versus Molina Jr. possibly, and other ones. So was 2016 year of the cherry pick? I can't say that because, I mean, on your list, 4 of the names are from 2 people, Canelo and Triple G. So everyone's not doing that. Vasyl Lomachenko ain't doing it. He's fighting Nicholas Walters. That's a beast of a fight. Leo Santa Cruz, Carl Frampton. Carl Frampton was moving up, fighting a champion, and Leo Santa Cruz was undefeated. Terrence Crawford was fighting the other best 140-pounder in Victor Postal, right? You're looking at Jesse Vargas is daring to try to beat the Pacquiao, an elite guy. Thurman Porter, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who are. Orlando Salido fought Francisco Vargas, and now he's fighting Takashi Miura at the end of the year. You know what I mean? A champion, and then another guy who gave that champion a run for his money, Miura. So, I mean, there's a lot of people who are doing it right. Obviously, Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev. Ward jumped up and fought Sullivan Barrera. Kovalev's mandatory at 175. And then he fought a tune-up fight, Alexander Brand. Now he's fighting Kovalev. Kovalev fought Pascal. He fought Chilimba. And now he's fighting Ward. You know what I'm saying? So I can't say it's the year of the cherry pick, because there's a lot of people who are actually doing what they're supposed to be doing and fighting the toughest available competition. You know what I mean? Garcia and Molina, if that fight gets made and stuff like that, that's them. But I wouldn't say that's what boxing has been this year. You know what I'm saying? But there are always going to be fights that I'm sure that people aren't really fucking with or don't like. And those are just some of them, according to your list. Next question from Diego. Do you honestly think Floyd will go for 50, or is he done? I think he'll come back. I think the money will get too good and he'll get tempted with the offer and the right type of opponent that he wants to come back for. So I do think he'll come back personally. That's just my opinion. I have an inkling. His dad's saying little stuff like he'll come back. I think he wants, and I think he's competitive. I think he wants to break Marciano's record. But I don't know. I never talked to him. Next question is from Corey Cush. Ego, kudos on your channel. Been a follower since you had 10,000 followers. So to see you grow to almost 50,000 is a testament to your content and quality. I appreciate that. My question statement, Ward versus Kovalev is by far the best fighting the best has to offer, but I do not believe it will break the 1 million pay-per-view buys. My guess, 450. MMA is constantly breaking 1 million pay-per-views because of the matchups they present and their marketing. What could boxing do to better promote to the casual fan? That's where you get your buys, and I think boxing does a bad job at marketing to these fans. Floyd did Dancing with the Stars, talk shows, and other outside media to go after these fans. Should other boxers and promoters follow suit? The thing is, UFC, I'm not trying to make excuses, but it's a bit easier because they're the biggest MMA branch. And Dana White has a ton of people under that. You know what I mean? They have the best fights are usually on there, not Bellator or anything like that. The best fights are typically, and the best fighters in MMA are typically in the UFC. So he could do whatever he wants. He has the stable to do it, which is great. It works for him. Another thing UFC does very good, in my opinion, is their video editing. When they have like little trailers that they drop on Instagram, their social media in general is very good, right? Dana White communicates with fans sometimes on the UFC official page. They update you right then and there, like Conor McGregor is fighting Eddie Alvarez, and they drop trailers, and their outreach is very good on social media. Their editing, their graphics, very good too. Like, people, you have to look at that. I remember when Brock Lesnar was coming back for that UFC card for Mark Hunt, they had this cool little, it looked like a movie trailer. You know what I mean? Quick trailer, and then it ended with Brock Lesnar like looking out the cage and like drooling and growling or some shit. I also like the UFC Embedded series, very good. They're high quality footage, you know what I mean, 4K or whatever it looks like, and it's available on YouTube. Fans don't have to wait, you don't have to have HBO, you know what I mean. UFC is very good about distributing their content too, versus boxing a little bit different, because you might have to have HBO on a week, you might have to have Showtime a different week, you might have to have just like a CBS or something like that to get these fights. So it's a little bit different. UFC has a good model with what they're doing because they have such a vast stable. So there's a couple things they can do. There's also some good salesmen in the UFC, like Conor McGregor, and then also the fans. The fans want to be there. Boxing fans sometimes are fickle, and sometimes they turn on fighters. Like I said earlier in this video, Broner has 2 losses, people calling for him to retire. So it's a mindset boxing fans have to change and things like that. But there's a couple ideas I have. It's just the right people in position have to do that. You know what I mean? Like, for the first half, HBO wasn't really doing a service for the boxing fans the first half of this year. You know what I mean? Putting everything on pay-per-view. Nobody's trying to pay pay-per-view for every single fight. We knew what was going to happen in the Canelo Khan fight. You know what I mean? And then Crawford Postal was a good fight, but pay-per-view good? You know what I mean? Was Canelo Liam Smith pay-per-view good? Like, really? That's pay-per-view worthy? You You know what I'm saying? So by the time we get to Ward Kovalev, people might not, like you said, maybe it only does 450. People might not want to buy it. I think the fight will do better than people think, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I'll probably try to go to the fight. If not, I'll support the fight. So I don't know. I have a couple suggestions, but there's different disciplines, different demographics, different fans, and stuff like that. UFC, they've been doing a good job. The other thing they're doing a good job with is making their cards pretty stacked with competitive fights. If boxing did that, it's not rocket science, really. You know what I mean? If boxing has a card, like when Porter Thurman was going to have Abner Mares versus Jesus Cuellar, that would have boosted the card. You know what I mean? Now, to PBC's credit or that fight's credit, the only reason that fight didn't happen was through no fault of their own, but they tried to make it. You know what I mean? But Abner Mares couldn't get the clearance in New York with he failed his vision test or whatever it was. So if you do cards like that, then it makes it more bang for your buck, and it makes it more worth it for the fans. So boxing just has to keep doing that. You know what I mean? What if, like I said before, listen, the biggest star in boxing right now is Canelo, and he's fighting people that he shouldn't be fighting. Khan? Really? Fighting Liam Smith? If you're going to fight someone in Texas, why didn't you fight one of the two champions that are from Texas that are better fights? One of the Charlo brothers. Some people are like, oh, Canelo will destroy the Charlo brothers. Let's see it. I'd rather see him destroy the Charlo brothers than Liam Smith, because he would get more credit. Not just from me, from real boxing fans. You can't tell me the Charlo brothers. I would pick both Charlo brothers to beat Liam Smith too. You know what I'm saying? Liam Smith just wasn't proven. He was cool. He's tough. He showed he was tough. But that's about it. So until the mindset, like Oscar or whatever, Golden Boy, whoever's doing it, who's pulling the strings, until they get out the mindset of like, oh, I got to protect him, and he can't fight Golovkin, he can't fight Demetrius Andrade, stuff like that, then the UFC is going to kick our ass, because you got the loudest loudmouth in the UFC, Conor McGregor, and whether you love him or hate him, you can't say he's not challenging himself. You sound stupid. He was going to fight RDA, who before Eddie Alvarez knocked him out, right? He was going to fight him. A Brazilian grappler, good fighter, coming off of a supreme win over, I think, Donald Cowboy Cerrone. And Conor McGregor was going to fight him at a higher weight than the Jose Aldo fight, right? That fight fell through. On a moment's notice, he signed on to fight Nate Diaz. They tried to negotiate for like 160, 65 or whatever. And then he said, you know what, get comfortable. I'll fight you at 170. Loses that fight, and he fights the rematch at 170. He could have pushed out and said, oh, you know what, I'm dragging this guy down in more weight. And he didn't. And he looked very methodical in that first round or two. You know what I mean? So he's at least challenged himself. That's my point. Now he's fighting another champion in Eddie Alvarez to potentially become the first UFC fighter to hold belts in two different divisions simultaneously. You know what I'm saying? So when fighters like Canelo and the stars that are carrying the torch right now for boxing start doing what Vasyl Lomachenko is doing, fighting Nicholas Walters, you know what I mean, fighting Salido in his second fight, things like that, then boxing will definitely grow. But I think the Ward Kovalev fight will do better than some people seem like to have negative thoughts about how it'll do, but I actually think it'll be. I haven't heard people say bad things. I know people that are kind of surface area boxing fans, and they're telling me how excited they are, and they bought tickets for this fight. So honestly, I think it's probably bigger than what people think. Next question is from Elvis Diaz. When will Rigondeaux and Luis Ortiz finally sign with the top promoter and fight the best in their division? Rigondeaux, he already is signed with a new promoter, and that's Rock Nation, and they're trying to keep him more active. I don't know when he's going to get bigger fights. Luis Ortiz, don't know. He just left Golden Boy and still fresh, so he needs to try to get with Al Heyman, Rock Nation, or somebody, so he can fight somebody. Ustinov, fight for one of these belts that may become vacant since Tyson Fury is on coke or whatever. Next question, Omar Lescano. What's good, Ego? Who do you think will win if they fight Mikey Garcia or Robert Easter Jr.? Very tough question, and I pose this as an Ego Matchmakers on my Instagram. At the current moment, I would probably rock with Robert Easter Jr. Reason being, Mikey Garcia has some rust on him. It was apparent in his last fight that he fought at 140, but that guy didn't have no pop. You know what I mean? The Elio Rojas or whatever. He didn't really have pop, and he was tagging Mikey Garcia a bit. Mikey Garcia was out 2 years, and a fighter like Robert Easter is not who you want to fight if you fresh back. You know what I'm saying? You want to take a couple fights first. So if they were to fight like ASAP, I would pick Robert Easter Jr. But if Mikey Garcia gets to knock out the cobwebs and fights a couple more times, then that might change it, because I don't really know. But Robert Easter right now got some good momentum. He's now a champion. I'm telling you, you guys can say whatever. Mikey's one of my favorites, a technical fighter, but Easter is not the person you want to come back to if you're not fully acclimated to the new weight division. People get it twisted. Mikey Garcia, again, I've interviewed him. He's a great guy. He's literally one of my favorites. But you got to put in perspective. Mikey's went through a long, laborious trial process or whatever that kept him on the sideline for 2 years. So people keep taking into consideration his achievements and accolades like 2 divisions lower when he's fighting against the Juan Carlos Burgos and guys like that, Roman Rocky Martinez. That's like at 126. It's different when you fight a guy who's 5'11", almost 6 feet tall like Robert Easter in a higher division. Plus you've been off for 2 years. Mikey Garcia, at this current point, his biggest accomplishments were in lower divisions, so he has to build himself back up, being on the sidelines that long and also fighting bigger guys, right? So if Elio Rojas is hitting you and connecting, then you probably want to, even I think a Comey fight would be difficult for Mikey Garcia. I really do. Comey was tough as shit, and he has a 90+% knockout percentage, and he was game, and he had a chin. So those are all difficult fights for Mikey Garcia. But my opinion might, I view boxing from a realistic set of lenses, and it all depends on where they're at right now. You know what I mean? If you ask me in 3 months, that's subject to change, because I have to see what happens with Mikey Garcia, what happens with Robert Easter, if I notice vulnerabilities and stuff like that, because that's how boxing is for me. That's how closely I watch it. I always was under the impression that Golovkin would probably stop Canelo, you know what I mean? And he would definitely beat him. But after seeing some recent things, that fight got closer. I would still probably rock with Triple G over Canelo, but it's not necessarily the easy work that I thought it might be. I think there's some problems that Canelo could really present. So it just depends. But right now, based on inactivity and the move up multiple divisions, I would pick Easter Jr. Next question is WP Husker fan. Yo, Ego, you the real voice of boxing. Appreciate that. I have 2 questions. First, do you believe Trey Lip Morrison is a serious contender for heavyweight championship titles since he doesn't have any amateur experience? I mean, he looks pretty strong. He's like a blank canvas. I haven't seen enough of him, and he definitely hasn't fought the level of competition to really gauge anything about him. You know what I mean? The guy he fought was a step up, and that wasn't a step. That wouldn't be a step up for Anthony Joshua. It wouldn't be a step up for Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury, Klitschko. So, you know what I mean? It's way too premature to tell if he has any real potential, because I really care about my credibility in this boxing game. That's why I try to give you guys the most accurate, up-to-date information, my thoughts. I mean, I'm not perfect, so I give predictions wrong or whatever, but I really take this serious. You know what I mean? I don't just throw shit out there and just throw shit on the wall, see if it sticks. So when I tell you, if I really believe in a guy, like, you could check my track record. Almost every person that I've promoted way before HBO's and ESPN, I mean, the videos are still up. I could pull them all up. Guys like Terrence Crawford, before Bradis Prescott fight, I was talking about Terrence Crawford. Guys like Triple G, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, right? There's Errol Spence. There's a ton of guys like that I was just an advocate for, like, y'all need to check for this person. This person got the goods. And I don't like to just, it's just like, I was working when I used to work at Lowe's, I was always moving up and getting promoted and stuff. I worked there like 6 years. And I don't like to refer people because that now you affect my name. You know what I mean? I have a lot of friends, but if I don't think you're reliable like that, I'm not people I used to go to school with that I, you know what I mean, kind of cool acquaintance with. Oh, he's like, talk to your manager, hook it up. Like, nah, I'm not hooking shit up because I care too much about my name, my namesake, the last name my dad gave us. You know what I'm saying? I care too much about that to let somebody else throw dirt on my name, you know what I mean, by not being what they're advertised. But that's kind of how I look at it with boxing. I'm not vouching for people if I haven't really seriously studied them and if I don't really see the full potential. So for Trey Lip Morrison, he seems cool so far, but it's just too premature for me to be like, yeah, he got it, he got the glow. Like, I just can't do that. And second, I watched the Linares-Corolla fight, and although it was a good fight and the right boxer won, looked as the ref was protecting Corolla by pretty much taking away Linares' body punches, claiming that they were too low when I don't believe they were. You mentioned that the UK is on and popping, but with the refs officiating like this, do you think it will dissuade fighters to go overseas to fight? Keep grinding, man, you're the best. Appreciate that. No, I mean, because we've seen Amir Khan get knocked out, stretched brutally, and then another British fighter did the same thing and jumped up 2 divisions. So money talks. That's my whole point. So I don't think people would be like, oh, because again, like you said, the right person won. Linares won the fight and he won. So even if the ref, I do agree, the ref was trying to intervene too much, and I hate refs like that make their a ref is supposed to be like a fly on the wall. You're not even supposed to know the ref is there, type shit. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell that ref was there. The ref in the Carl Froch, George Groves first fight, you could tell he was there. He fucked things up and had a premature stoppage. So it is what it is. The ref in Texas, Lawrence Cole, he sucks to me, and things like that. But I mean, you can't really control that. The most important thing is the right person won. So with that being said, I don't think anyone's gonna not go to the UK off of that. You know what I mean? Because again, the right person won. Now, if the ref disqualified him or something crazy, maybe. But based on that, I don't think anyone would be discouraged. And again, money talks. I mean, if they're like, hey, come fight Kell Brook, Errol Spence, we got this $3.4 million, I don't think he's going to be worried about the ref. He's going to be like, man, I'm going to get that $4 million. So, next question is from Pardis Hafiz. Sup, Ego? What do you think about Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder? I love it. Would that be an excellent fight? Yes, it would. And what do you think about the winner facing Klitschko or King Kong Ortiz? I love it. Great fight. I'm all about unifications, consolidating belts, and yeah, I love all those fights. And last question, this has nothing to do with boxing, but for curiosity, are you a Batman fan or a Superman fan? I've always been more of a Batman fan. I like both, but if I had to pick, I've always been more of a Batman fan. Batman movies, the comics, Batman. Jerry Seinfeld, he likes Superman better. I like Batman. That's just me. But it's late and I'm doing this video. I'm a night owl anyway, so I think I relate more to Batman because I'm nocturnal damn near. I feel like a fucking vampire half the time. The Lost Boys. Next question, Nick G47. Hey Ego, who do you think Edeslani Lara should fight next? I actually always wanted to see Demetrius Andrade and Lara because I didn't see their amateur fight and I just know the outcome. I think it'd be a good fight to see who learned what since their last fight. So that's what I would love to see. Canelo rematch, that would be good. Do you think he should move up to middleweight and pursue bigger names to maybe get a chance at Golovkin? If he's not going to fight Golovkin, I don't really think he needs to move up to middleweight, to be honest. If it's Golovkin, he's been calling him out for years, so yeah, go up for Golovkin and get your wish. But other than that, there's too many people at 154 that he could possibly face. So no real, if you're not struggling to make the weight, I would say just stay put. or stay at 154 and fight Andrade or maybe Cotto. Oh, Cotto too, but I don't think Cotto wants to fight. I don't know. I really feel like, I mean, I love Cotto, but I really feel like Cotto's gonna just be cashing out. You know what I mean? Like type money grab type fights, like Lamont Peterson or guys who are lesser threats on paper than a Demetrius Andrade or Lada. I think he's gonna stay away from guys like that and just kind of like use his name to kind of coast it. I think he's on cruise control with his career, to be honest. Like, he was supposed to come back this year multiple times. Oh, he's coming back this summer. Oh, he's coming back late 2016. Then they pushed it all the way back to 2017. So, I mean, I'm not trying to clown. This is just my opinion. I just really don't know how vested Cotto is into boxing at this moment. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't really seem like he has the fire. So, if he doesn't have the fire like that, not saying he can't scrap. He can. He can clearly scrap. You know what I mean? Canelo couldn't knock him out or knock him down or anything. But I don't think his heart is in, like, it's like more of a job. You know what I mean? Some people love their job and they wake up and they don't mind going. Cotto, this to me, it seems like he'd rather just be chilling with his family or something, going to Knicks games. And this is like really work to him. And he's not going to get in shape unless he has a fight coming up type shit. You know what I mean? Do you think people are still ducking Lada? Of course, there are definitely people, but 154 is stacked, so I don't think everyone would not fight him. But even Demetrius Andrade, he said he want to fight Lada last because of Lada's style. He's gonna have to search for Lada, and he's gonna be running. So you know what I mean? Some people just find that style hard to deal with. Next question, Sport Guy, AJ versus Parker next. I think that's likely. I think unless the Klitschko fight comes off, I'm not really confident that the Klitschko-Joshua fight will happen. But if it doesn't, it's going to be Parker, in my opinion. HC Boxing. What's next for Klitschko? Where does he go from here? AJ, you think that's all? That's for all you do. Thanks for all you do. New media, Monday Mail Day. Klitschko, I don't know. If it's not Anthony Joshua, I don't really know who he's going to fight next. Because I don't think he wants to fight like a Cannon Briggs. I don't know if David Haye would want to like rematch. I don't know. I really don't know. Wilder, I don't know if he would want to go. Tyson Fury is probably going to be M.I.A. for a minute. So I don't know unless he starts pulling from the back of the rankings and stuff like that. I mean, he already fought Bryant Jennings. He already fought Povetkin. Povetkin's fighting Bryant Stavern. So I don't know. If he doesn't fight AJ, I'm not really sure who he's going to fight. Because I don't think he'll just fight a Wilder straight off. Unless it was for a belt. And then the final question. What's up, Ego? Love your channel. New media killing it. Quick question. Away from the elite fighters, who would you pick to win a fight between Jarrett Hurd and Erickson Lubin in a light middleweight clash of these two up-and-coming boxers? Respect and best wishes from the UK. That's very tough because I like both of them. Erickson the Hammer Lubin, Jarrett Hurd. Ooh, that's tough. You know, I might even pick Jarrett Hurd. I think he has the better competition. Oscar Molina and then Frank Galarza, I think was his most recent fights. I think that's better than the guys that Erickson Lubin's been in with, but it's really a toss-up, to be honest. If someone picked Lubin, I wouldn't be shocked. I think Jarrett Hurd, he's a little bit swifter. That's his nickname, Swift. So I think he moves a little bit more fluid. So if he could stay away from the power shots, I would say I would probably pick Hurd. That's just my opinion. He also has a nasty uppercut. Vicious is like just up the middle on Oscar Molina. He landed this disgusting uppie. That's what we call them, uppies. Let me know how you guys think I did this week. I try to get to a lot of questions. I will be back next week, Monday Mail Day. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.